3 things I never thought I'd say in my life. Why does my wife have a lease for a secret apartment? It's fully furnished, and none of it is my taste. I'm about to play the best long game of revenge I can imagine. But life has a funny way of smacking you in the face when you least expect it. And trust me, mine wasn't just a slap. It was a full-on knockout punch. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jake Thompson, a 38-year-old real estate agent who knows every square inch of our city. I have a nice home, a stable job, and a wife I've spent the last 8 years of my life with. Amanda, 35, was my best friend, or so I thought. We were one of those solid, we finish each other's sentences couples. We had inside jokes, traditions, and even a monthly date night that never got skipped. No wild fights, no screaming matches, just 2 people building a future together. I had no reason to suspect anything. No late night, work meetings, no mysterious new perfume, no sudden gym obsession. Amanda was as steady as ever. But the thing about deception? It thrives in routine. It started with an accident. One day, while I was doing something as mundane as searching for an old email, I stumbled across something I wasn't supposed to see. A lease agreement. At first, my brain didn't compute what I was looking at. It was an official document, signed and dated 3 months ago, for a 1-bedroom apartment in a complex I knew well. It wasn't even hidden, just sitting in her inbox like it was nothing. I stared at it, waiting for a logical explanation to materialize. Was it for a family member? No, Amanda's family all lived out of state. A rental investment? Doubtful. We weren't in the business of flipping apartments. Maybe a friend needed a place? Possible, but Amanda would have mentioned it. And then my stomach dropped. She hadn't mentioned it. She hadn't even hinted at it. It was like this place didn't exist in our marriage, only in her secret world. I went into full detective mode. I checked her bank transactions, looking for rent payments. Sure enough, there they were. Monthly payments withdrawn like clockwork. No shared account, no receipts lying around, no trace of this in any conversation we'd ever had. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to ask her about it. See, most guys would blow up right then and there. Confront her, scream, demand answers. But me? I like to be thorough. I like to know exactly what I'm dealing with before I make my move. So instead of giving Amanda a chance to weave some intricate lie, I did the only logical thing. I got in my car, drove to the address, and walked straight into the unknown. I had no idea what I was about to find, but I knew one thing for sure. This apartment wasn't for me. And that meant my wife had a secret she thought she could keep. When I pulled into the parking lot of the apartment complex, my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The building wasn't anything extravagant, just a sleek, modern complex that catered to young professionals who wanted to live outside the suburbs but still close to downtown. The kind of place someone would rent if they needed privacy. Secrecy. And my wife had a key. So instead, I drove home first. The house was empty. Amanda was still at work, or at least that's where she was supposed to be. I had a few hours to dig before she got back. I started in the usual places. Her side of the closet, her nightstand, her bathroom drawers. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I knew I'd recognize it when I saw it. And then, I did. Inside one of her purses, stuffed in the back of our shared closet, was a set of keys. They weren't our house keys, and they sure as hell weren't her office keys. This was an entirely different set, with a key fob for a high-end apartment complex. I held them in my hand, turning them over, my mind racing. Amanda wasn't stupid. If she was renting a secret apartment, she wouldn't just leave proof lying around. Which meant one thing. She didn't think I'd ever check. That realization hit harder than I expected. Dresses, coats, lingerie, all pieces I had seen her buy over the past year, but had never once seen her wear around me. At first, I tried to convince myself that maybe she just liked to splurge on herself. But that theory fell apart the moment I saw what else was in there. Men's clothing. Not just a stray hoodie or a forgotten t-shirt. A whole section. Neatly folded shirts, dress pants, an expensive leather jacket hanging at the end of the rack. These weren't the kind of clothes a woman kept around for sentimental reasons. They belonged to someone who lived here. My hands tightened into fists as I forced myself to breathe. I needed evidence, not rage. So I took my time. I snapped photos of everything. The labels on the shirts, the sizes, the expensive leather shoes neatly lined up by the door. Then I found the jewelry. A small black box, tucked away in the top dresser drawer. Inside, a bracelet with Amanda's initials engraved on it. But here's the kicker. I never bought it for her. My wife had plenty of jewelry, some she picked for herself, some I had gifted her over the years. But this was something new, something special. The kind of thing a man gave to a woman when he wanted her to remember him every time she looked at it. I kept digging, moving through the space carefully, methodically. Every item, every misplaced detail, every subtle clue added up to a picture I didn't want to see but couldn't ignore. I found a set of keys, not just one for the apartment, but a whole ring. A car key, office keys, a small silver key that probably opened a private safe. That was when I remembered something. Amanda had been leaving the house earlier than usual for the past few months. Not by much, just 30, 40 minutes before her usual routine. It had seemed harmless at first, but now, I had a strong feeling she hadn't been going straight to work. I pocketed the keys. I didn't care if she noticed. Let her wonder. Let her feel the creeping paranoia of things slipping out of place. I left nothing untouched, no angle undocumented. When I was done, I took one last look at the apartment. The perfectly made bed, the wine glasses in the sink, the expensive cologne bottle on the bathroom counter. I locked the door behind me and walked back to my car, gripping my phone like a loaded gun. This wasn't just an affair. This was an entire second life. And she had no idea I had just walked through it. I drove home from the apartment in complete silence. No music, no radio, just the sound of my own breathing and the dull hum of the road beneath my tires. I had walked through her secret life, touched the fabric of her betrayal with my own hands, and now I needed more. I needed names. I needed dates. I needed to know exactly when she planned to see him next. So, instead of stewing in my rage, I did what any rational, vengeful husband would do. I turned to her digital footprint. Amanda and I never had strict privacy when it came to our devices. Over the years, we had shared access to each other's accounts, streaming services, cloud storage, even our emails were often logged into the same browser. Not because we were particularly trusting, but because we never had a reason not to be. Until now, I grabbed my laptop, sat down at the kitchen table, and started digging. First stop? Google location history. I don't know whether she just forgot or if she thought I was too dumb to ever check, but Amanda had never turned off her tracking. One quick glance, and there it was, the apartment. Twice a week, 3-hour windows. And the best part? She wasn't even creative with her excuses. The timestamps aligned perfectly with her work late nights and sudden errands on the weekends. Next, I moved to our shared cloud storage. I scrolled through folders, skimming documents, until something caught my eye, a receipt. A wine purchase. 2 bottles of expensive red, bought just a few hours before I found her hidden apartment. And guess what? We had no upcoming dinner plans. I clenched my jaw and kept going. Then I found it. Amanda's Facebook and Instagram DMs. She had always been a little sloppy with social media. Not the type to fully delete things, just lazy enough to let messages pile up. And there he was. His name? Ryan Hale. I didn't recognize him, but I recognized the pattern. Gym selfies, travel photos, work conferences, all the classic signs of a guy who thinks he's a main character in life. Then I started reading their messages. Ryan, you looked so damn good today. Could barely keep my hands off you. Amanda, I know, but you know how careful we have to be. Ryan, wish I could have stayed longer. Amanda, Thursday. Same place? I'll bring the wine. Thursday, 6 p.m. The apartment. And just like that, the final piece fell into place. I shut my laptop, my hands steady despite the fire in my chest. This wasn't just some sleazy hotel meetup. This wasn't a careless one-night stand. This was a scheduled event, a ritual, which meant I had an opportunity. So, I devised my plan. I would get to the apartment first, early enough to prepare. I wouldn't hide. No dark corners, no shadows. I wanted them to walk right into me. I would let them see the moment their world collapsed. Let them feel the weight of their lies, the suffocating pressure of reality hitting them like a truck. No yelling, no screaming, just the cold, calculated exposure of every filthy secret they thought they could hide. And when it was over, well, Amanda and Ryan had no idea just how unforgettable their little date night was about to become. The morning of their big night, I made one last discovery, one that turned my cold, calculated revenge into something far more devastating. Ryan Hale was married. His wife, Laura Hale, had a public Facebook page filled with posts about their recent anniversary, vacation photos from Florida, and pictures of their 2 young kids. I stared at my screen, feeling the weight of it settle over me. Amanda wasn't just helping Ryan cheat. She was helping destroy an entire family. And Laura? She had no idea. I was about to change that. I spent the next few hours setting up every single detail. I gathered all the evidence, the messages, the receipts, the location history, and every damning piece of proof. I sent an anonymous message to Laura, attaching everything she needed to see. I told her to check Ryan's location at 6 p.m. and that if she needed confirmation, she should come to the apartment herself. Then, I went to set the stage. By 5:30 p.m., I was inside their love nest, waiting. No lights on, no sound, just me, a chair, and a phone full of evidence. At 6:07 p.m., I heard footsteps, then a key in the lock. The door opened, and there they were. Amanda walked in first, laughing, holding a bottle of wine. Ryan followed, dropping his gym bag by the door. They were so comfortable, so careless, that it took them a full 3 seconds to realize something was wrong. Because there I was, sitting in his chair, in their apartment, watching them. Amanda gasped. Ryan froze. "Hey there," I said, my voice calm. "Hope I'm not interrupting." Amanda turned ghost white. Ryan took a half-step backward, eyes darting to the door like a rat looking for an escape. No, don't stop now," I continued, standing up. "I mean, you were clearly about to celebrate something. Don't let me ruin the mood." Amanda opened her mouth to speak, but I raised a hand. "I wouldn't," I said, "because I'm not the only one who knows about this." Her breath hitched. I turned to Ryan. "Tell me, Ryan," I said, tilting my head. "How long do you think it'll take for Laura to get here?" And just like that, the blood drained from his face. He choked on his own words, pulling out his phone in a panic. "Yeah, go ahead. Check your messages," I said, stepping forward. "I sent her everything, every single detail. And if she's smart, she's on her way here right now." Amanda staggered back like she had been slapped. "Ryan?" He was shaking, full-blown panic mode. And I wasn't done yet. "I've already contacted a lawyer," I continued, locking eyes with Amanda. "Divorce papers will be drawn up by next week. I'm taking my assets, my house, and I'll make sure you get exactly what you deserve." Amanda tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "Oh, and Ryan?" I added, turning back to him. "Since I assume you'll be homeless soon, you might want to start looking for a new job." His lips parted. "What?" I smiled. "You know how I work in real estate?" I asked, stepping toward him. "Well, guess who just sent an email to your boss, attaching all of this?" His entire body sagged. "You son of a—" "Careful," I warned, cutting him off. "You did this to yourself. You thought you were untouchable, thought you could around and get away with it. But now, everyone knows." And right on cue, a car pulled up outside. Ryan's head snapped toward the window. He let out a strangled, "No, no, no," as he rushed to grab his things. Too late, because Laura Hale was here. The knock on the door was sharp, urgent. Ryan jolted like someone had just put a gun to his head. His eyes flicked to Amanda, then to me, silently begging for some way out. I just smiled. There was none. "Go on," I said, gesturing toward the door. "It's for you." Ryan hesitated. Sweat dripped down his forehead. He looked like a man who had just been told his execution date. Another knock. Harder this time. "Ryan!" A woman's voice screamed from the other side. "Laura Hale." Ryan scrambled toward the door like a trapped animal, fumbling with the handle. When he finally opened it, she came in like a hurricane. She was fuming, eyes red, hands shaking, a stack of printed messages clenched in her fist. "Oh, good," I said, leaning against the counter. "You got my message." Laura didn't even look at me. She was locked onto Ryan, her gaze like a bullet. "This," she hissed, shoving the printed messages against his chest, "is what you've been doing. You absolute." She didn't even finish the sentence. Her hand came up and slapped him so hard I swear I heard his ancestors cry. Ryan stumbled back, holding his cheek, but he didn't dare say a word. And then Laura turned to Amanda. "And let me tell you, I have never seen my wife look so small." Amanda's breakdown. "I didn't," Amanda stammered, tears welling up. "Shut up," Laura snapped. "Just shut your lying mouth for 1 second." Amanda flinched like she had been struck. Laura turned back to Ryan, her voice like poison. "You have 2 kids at home, Ryan. 2 kids. And instead of being a father, you're here?" She laughed bitterly. "In this little love nest? Screwing someone else's wife like some kind of pathetic midlife crisis fantasy?" Ryan opened his mouth, but she cut him off. "No. No excuses. No apologies. I don't care what you have to say." She took a deep breath, then turned to me. "You knew before me, didn't you?" she asked. I nodded. "I found out a few days ago." Laura looked around the apartment. The wine, the expensive furniture, the entire second life her husband had been living. Then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed. Not a happy laugh. A broken, dark, humorless laugh. "Oh, this is rich," she muttered. "You thought you could just keep living this little fantasy? Did you think we'd never find out?" Ryan and Amanda had nothing left. They stood there, eyes darting back and forth, like children caught stealing from the cookie jar. Laura turned to me. "Well," she asked, "what do you want to do with them?" A cold smile curled on my lips. "Don't worry," I said, stepping forward. "I've already made arrangements." Ryan swallowed hard. What do you mean?" I glanced at my watch. "In about 15 minutes, your boss is going to get an email with all of this." I gestured around the apartment. Every message, every receipt, every single detail. Ryan went pale. "And Amanda?" I continued. "Well, I've already spoken to my lawyer. You're going to get exactly what you deserve." Amanda collapsed onto the couch, sobbing into her hands. "You can't do this," Ryan whispered, his voice barely audible. I turned to him and grinned. "I already did." Laura let out a satisfied exhale. "I'll be filing for divorce," she said coldly. "I'll take the house, the kids, the cars. And you? You'll be lucky if I let you see them on weekends." Ryan looked like he wanted to die. "Amanda?" She was still sobbing, reality crushing her like a vice. Laura turned to me, nodding. "Looks like they both just lost everything," she said. I smiled. "Good. They say karma takes time. Not this time." Amanda and Ryan thought they could sneak around, live their little fantasy, betray the people who loved them most, and get away with it. They didn't. The wreckage of their lives didn't unfold slowly. It hit them like a freight train, one disaster crashing into the next, leaving them with nothing but the cold, hard consequences of their own choices. And I didn't lift a finger to stop it. After Laura and I walked out of that cursed apartment, Amanda tried to beg. She texted. She called. She even showed up at the house sobbing in the driveway like some tragic victim of a story she wrote herself. "Jake, please, we can fix this," she wailed. Mascara streaked down her face. It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything. That was the best she could come up with. I just stood there, arms crossed, letting her cry it out before I delivered the first hard truth. "You can fix this," I said, my voice steady, "by getting the hell off my property." Because by then, everything was already set in motion. Divorce papers? Filed. My lawyer worked fast, and since I had gathered so much evidence, Amanda wouldn't be seeing a single cent more than she deserved. House. Mine. Thanks to a prenuptial agreement she had once laughed at when we signed it. Our social circle? Gone. Every single mutual friend knew. I didn't have to spread it. Word traveled on its own. The sympathy wasn't for her. Amanda was blacklisted from every event, every gathering, every space where she had once held status. The best part? Her own parents disowned her. Her mother called me crying, apologizing for raising such a disappointment. Her father refused to speak to her at all. And Amanda? She moved into a tiny studio apartment, alone, because no one wanted to take her in. She tried dating, but men weren't exactly lining up for a woman who cheated on her husband with a married man. She sent one last desperate text a month later. I miss you. I blocked her number. If Amanda's downfall was slow and painful, Ryan's was a spectacular train wreck. Laura didn't just divorce him, she demolished him. The house? Gone. She got it in the settlement. The cars? Gone. She took both, leaving him to rely on public transportation like a peasant. The kids? Gone. Full custody to Laura. Ryan was allowed visitation twice a month, but from what I heard, the kids wanted nothing to do with him. And his job? Oh, his job. Remember how I sent all that evidence to his boss? Turns out, Ryan's company had a strict, no fraternization policy. They fired him immediately. Corporate America doesn't care if you're good at your job. They care about liability. And a man who sleeps with a coworker's wife? That's a liability. Ryan went from a high-paying executive job to being unemployed, divorced, and homeless. He tried fighting it. He begged. He even tried suing Laura for unfair divorce terms. The judge laughed him out of the courtroom. 6 months later, I heard Ryan was working at a hardware store, making minimum wage, renting a room in some shady apartment with 3 other divorced men who had also ruined their lives. Amanda? Still alone. She had tried getting back into her social circle, but no one trusted her anymore. She had no career, no reputation, no future. And me? I was thriving. The divorce was finalized. I was dating again, meeting people who actually respected me. I took a vacation to the Maldives, because why the hell not? And the best part? I never had to see Amanda's face again. Some people say revenge isn't worth it. That karma will handle things. Let me tell you something. Sometimes, you have to be karma. And when you do it right, you don't just win. You destroy.